Hey, everyone. I'm Becca, this is Matt, and this is Becca's Book Club Adventure.
Hello, every lovely listener out there. Today, we are unpacking all of the chaos of the second Crescent City book, House of Sky and Breath.
Yes, last week we read part 3 and finished up the book, and now we've had some time to sit with our thoughts, and we're here to discuss our favorite moments, our character arcs, how Crescent City compares to Throne of Glass and Akatar, and what we might think might happen next, and whether we emotionally survived the journey.
But before we do any of that, we have to thank this episode's sponsor, Second Light.
That's right. Are you a millennial? Are you constantly filled with anxiety that you might not be doing enough, working enough, making enough money, contributing to society enough, making enough of a difference?
Enough. Like, is death an especially scary thought because of the stigma of eternal peace and rest? Would you rather give back to society even after you've moved on? Well, introducing Second Light, the afterlife's hottest energy solution.
Here at Becca's Book Club Adventure, we believe your soul shouldn't rest, it should work. And that's why, after death, we harvest the lingering remnants of your essence and convert it into usable power. For who? Oh, you know, the ruling elite, mega corporations, maybe even your local library, if you ask nicely.
It's clean, it's efficient, it's slightly horrifying. But don't think of it as being drained into oblivion. Think of it as leaving a legacy. A legacy that powers coffee shops and weapons alike.
Second Light, because in Crescent City, dying is just the beginning of your productivity and the alleviation of your millennial anxieties.
Amen.
We did it!
We did it. We finished the book. And we've got stuff to talk about. And if any of you listeners out there want to talk about it with us, as always, you can let us know what you think. Leave us a comment, leave us a review, email us at bookclubbybecca@gmail.com, or DM us on Instagram. We are at Becca's Book Club Adventure. Okay, where should we start, dearie?
I think we should start with your book rating.
My book rating. I gave this book on Storygraph a 4.5 out of 5.
Me too!
Oh, right. I gave the first book a 5. Yeah. But this, like, the information in book 2 is awesome. And the characters are just as great and everything. The reason I rated it slightly less is I personally feel like the pacing was wrong. Like, it felt like part 1 was paced really well and I loved it and it sucked me in and like all consumed my life. Part 2 felt like it stretched on forever without anything happening. And then part 3 was the same length as part 1, but had more stuff in it than part 1 and part 2 combined.
Yeah. Part 3 was overwhelming.
So because of the pacing and part 3 felt a little like discombobulated. I guess it didn't hit quite as emotionally as book 1. So I took it from a 5 down to a 4.5, even though it was still a stellar book that everybody should read.
Yeah. I really, really liked the book. I think what did it for me was part 2. I was just kind of lost and meandering, and I was like, are we interested? Are we not interested? And I think one of my struggles with maybe Crescent City as a whole, as we've read it now. So she's broken it up into these parts, and these parts are really beautiful, but almost these parts could be a book in and of themselves. And so there's this tug of war with me, like she could have made this a really different marketing scheme and gotten like 12 books out of this series based off of the parts that she's broken up. But then I also appreciate this as a person who is supporting the books, not having 12 books to have to read or purchase and all of that. But yeah, and I like that she's got this concept of these 4 houses. We have 4 books, and that like wraps it up nice and neat. But I don't know. This could have been broken up into 2 books.
I think so. I think it really could have ended on like some type of cliffhanger at the end of the autumnal equinox when Agent Daybright is kidnapped.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even like the depth charger when they're picked up after the first like really big time that they interact with them.
Or that. Yeah. Something that I'm not understanding. So each of the books, like you were mentioning, is cut up into parts, and the parts are named after different levels of hell. The chasm, the pit, the all these, and I'm trying to figure out why. Is it relating to where Bryce and company find themselves, or does it relate to actually hell and the princes coming in and out of the story, or like what is the naming schema of this chunking? I don't get it.
Right? Because it's not like it's like we're getting one level deeper into the book, into the plot line, the theories, the blah blah blah. Because we start like in level 4. It's not like we start at level 1.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, I don't know if it will, but I'm hoping that kind of becomes apparent in book 3, because I have a feeling that in book 3 hell is going to be maybe a little bit more, but like then we leave off on the cliffhanger that she's in Prithian with Rhysand and the Court of Dreams. So like, is hell gonna come into it now?
So many
Yeah.
questions, and we know she doesn't do anything without a purpose. So like we know that there's a reason that they're named that way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kicking myself that I'm apparently not smart enough to figure that out.
Right? Which I think is maybe why Crescent City is starting to become one of my favorites.
I do like Crescent City. You know, the rest of her library is so good. I think like you get Throne of Glass, and I think Throne of Glass is a quintessential epic fantasy. Yes, there's romance in there, but like it's an epic fantasy on the same type of proportion of Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time, right? Whereas then ACOTAR is very much a fairy tale retelling. Everything is sort of like hyperbole and over, it's a little bit extra, but like that's like the charm. And Crescent City is very, it's almost much more of a political book than it is a romance or epic fantasy. And I think that's really cool.
I think at the end of the day, I would never be able to pick just one of her series because each of them has such a different take and writing style and purpose, like you just highlighted. And like ACOTAR got me back into reading, right? And Throne of Glass got me back into like making a really consistent habit out of it and thinking about other things that I want. And now with Crescent City, I'm like, oh, I can read complex books and keep things together. I don't have to just read for vibes. I can actually read for the whole of the experience.
Yeah. Do you know anything about Brandon Sanderson?
I know that he's a prolific author.
Right. Okay. So he is a very prolific author. I learned about Brandon Sanderson because Brandon Sanderson was the author that was tapped to finish The Wheel of Time when Robert Jordan died. So that's how I learned about Brandon Sanderson. I have not read any of Brandon Sanderson's books, but because of the Wheel of Time fandom that I'm a part of, I learned a lot about him. And there's just a parallel that I want to draw here. So Brandon Sanderson has like 5 or 6 different series of books, and all of them take place within the same universe, right? It's called the Cosmere, where like magic is sort of related and parallel worlds and stuff like that. And it is supposed to be regarded as one of the best, most prolific, biggest sci-fi fantasy endeavors of all time. I'm really, really sad that the SJM books have not been billed the same way, because it is very apparent to me at this point that the Mossverse is like a real thing. When I heard about the Mossverse last year or whatever, I thought it was just a nice way to describe her library of work. I didn't realize at the time that all 3 of the series take place within the same universe, and they're all interrelated. And I think that is an amazing feat of mental chess that she's done that not many authors can do. And I think she needs to get more props than just being one of the most successful romantasy writers ever.
Well, and we have 3 separate universes that are connected, right? It's like the Milky Way is within the galaxy, and so we don't fully know how they all connect yet, but we're getting there with more novels to come.
Mm-hmm. It's very impressive. It's very, very impressive. So book 1, 5 out of 5. Book 2, 4.5 out of 5. Somehow I'm expecting, I don't know what I'm expecting from book 3, but I think it's going to be really good. One, I'm very curious from a writing perspective how she is going to marry the political rebellion intrigue of Crescent City with this like extra fantasy fairy tale tone from ACOTAR. I'm
Right?
curious how she's going to marry those two worlds together. This is going to be very cool.
Well, I'm excited to see how Throne of Glass gets intermixed into this world.
Yeah.
Because that has not become apparent yet.
No. But definitely Sarah J. Maas didn't. She put a nice bow on Throne of Glass, but she didn't shut the door. She didn't kill anybody. Like the world still exists. It's just ostensibly in peace,
right?
Yeah. Let's talk about some characters from this House of Sky and Breath. All right. Is Bryce still our favorite female lead?
Between the other female characters, in this book or in
between ACOTAR, TOG, and CC.
Okay. The Juniper thing really hurts me. And so that really knocks Bryce down for me.
Knock her down far enough that like Selena or Feyre is going to rise up and take number 1?
Yeah, I think this puts Elena being back up.
Okay.
Aelin back up.
I think right now Bryce and Selena are tied for me. I think I still like Bryce a little bit more. Although I wasn't a big fan of how apparently she just had plans for the Viper Queen to find a meal for everybody. And like that smacked me in the face out of left field. Like, I think something that I really like about Selena and Aelin and Throne of Glass is you always know that she's doing something on the side. You might not know what it is, but you know she's pulling strings and trying to do something.
Yeah, you know that she is queen and she cares about her community. She's not going to let you in because you're going to fuck up her plan, but you know that she's got a plan.
Bryce, we don't know anything, and I think that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah. We don't know anything, and we know that she doesn't always have the capacity to think shit through, which is why the Juniper thing bothers me so badly.
Yeah. There's a little bit of she's still like a college girl, but then she's also doing all of these like queen savior stuff that she's not letting anybody know about, and it's hard to rectify those two concepts being in the same person.
Right? Like, I think there was 3 times where she was like, I think I'm going to walk away from the rebellion stuff. We don't need to do that. We can just have a nice little life over this. And you're like, okay, it's nice to think that, Bryce, but you're not going to do that.
Yeah. Not that it matters so much, but I will go ahead and say that I think Bryce still ranks number 1 just in terms of attractiveness of the 3. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. Maybe number 1 in sluttiness as well. Not judging. Definitely. Bryce, go live your life. Do your thing.
Although arguably she was monogamous the whole second book.
Yeah, that's true. Man, I guess something that we didn't talk about when we talked about part 3, but we can kind of talk about it in this entire book recap. Bryce and Hunt, their sexual chemistry. Something that I really appreciated about ACOTAR and Throne of Glass is the sex was always very integrated into the story. It felt very seamless. Yes. Like whether it's Tamlin being a dick and like not pleasing her and causing trauma, to Selena and Rowan mating, like being mates. And I almost got annoyed every time that Bryce and Hunt got it on.
Yeah. It
It
doesn't.
always came out of left field.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not enough yet too much all at the same time. It's so well done in ACOTAR. So well done that I think I just had higher expectations.
Crescent City seems a little bit like a porno movie in terms of like in the porno movie, it's like, you're here, I'm here too. We're meant to be bow, go bow, wow. And then like it's on. And in Crescent City, they're like, oh my God, you're in the gym, I'm in the gym. You're lifting weights, I'm lifting weights. We should do it. But whatever, it's okay. It was still better than Rune and Agent Daybright getting it on in their brains from other sides of the city, apparently. Whatever.
With one of them knowing who the other is and the other not knowing.
Yep.
I think that was the worst part of that.
That was a little bit weird. I did not realize that the hind was curvy. I thought that the hind was kind of like athletic built. So not like a stick, but you know what I mean?
My brain, okay, she's a deer shifter.
Yes.
Okay, deer are long and lanky and angular.
Yeah. Yeah.
They ain't curvy.
I was thinking of the hind as a lot more like Juniper.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, elegant even, feminine, but like high-level dancers not known for their being top heavy or curvy. So when Rune was like getting it on with Agent Daybright and he's talking about her like ample backside and her amazing curves, and I'm just like, I'm trying to think of like, is he doing his sister? Like nobody else in Crescent City is described that way other than Bryce.
Yeah.
Okay,
All of that was a no.
Speaking of all of these different characters, was there any character arc that surprised you the most in book 2?
I think we knew a lot of mystery around Hypaxia's arc, and so I think I was the most intrigued with where it was going. So I want like this necromancy that we finally got to see a little bit of, this past love, current love situation she has, this sister connection. Surprising, maybe not, but highly enjoyable changing character arc, yes.
I think Ethan surprised me a lot. I mean, I was surprised that he was kicked out of the pack at all there in part 1.
Yep.
I mean, okay, like not surprised after you get the explanation and everything, but like it was kind of a shock that it happened.
Yes.
And then I wasn't really expecting him to have as much of an independent story arc with the astronomer and the mystics and the fire sprites and all of that crap. I was kind of expecting him to just be muscle, an extra body to do stuff. So Ethan was a surprise for me. I thought Sarah J. Maas did an amazing job throughout the entire book with giving out red herrings for who Agent Daybright was going to be. I was all in on Celestina until we walked in on Celestina and Hypaxia together in their little romp room.
Yep.
And then I was like, is it the harpy? Is it the hind? Is it Hypaxia, for Christ's sake?
Yeah.
Is it somebody who lives in the Eternal City that we actually don't know? I thought she did that pretty masterfully. Is there a side character you wish had gotten more time? And if so, who?
I don't think they needed more time in this book, but I'm ready for more time in the next book, is Jesiba.
Yes, I'm all in on that train. Why?
So this hint from the Underking that he does know Jesiba, but he knows her from another name, and we know that Jesiba rejected her witch heritage and is now in the House of Flame and Shadow. I need to know more about her backstory with why and what other relevance does she have? Because we get this notion that she's this very old character that's been around forever. That's why she has all these tombs from a long time ago. And so is she related to some Akatar character or Throne of Glass character that we haven't put together yet, or some other scenario.
I would love for Jesiba to be related to Amryn.
Ah,
That would be cool. I
is
want to
Amryn?
know. Sorry, what?
Maybe she is Amryn.
Maybe. Oh, that would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if Jesiba is a part of the rebellion. She's definitely anti-Asteri,
Yes.
but is she in on the rebellion? And if she's not in on the rebellion, which I'm actually leaning towards,
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what her ultimate goal is.
I don't think she's with the human rebellion. I think she's teamed up with Hell. And I think that's why she hired Bryce initially.
Ah, okay. Now my noodle is going. This is great. Okay, so going with that particular train of thought, book 3 is titled House of Flame and Shadow, but we are left in Prithian. Well, Bryce is left in Prithian. Obviously, our other main characters are still in Pangera, although they're captured by the Asteri and or dead. So I'm really hopeful that we get a lot more of House of Flame and Shadow, right? Because we've been set up for Hypaxia.
Mm-hmm.
We've been set up now for Jesiba. We've been set up for the Hind, and I'm very curious to know if she has which heritage. Is she actually a part of House of Flame and Shadow somehow, right? And then we're set up with stuff from the Underking, and like there's just so much House and Flame and Shadow stuff. But how do we do that if Bryce is in Prithian?
Well, I think our epilogue goes right back to Hunt with his slave tattoo. So we might not get a lot of Bryce. In fact, we might not get Bryce in the first part at all.
That would be a bummer.
It would be.
That would be a bummer.
Because she can't just slip point of views super casually without changing locations. If our main character is separated from our rest of our group.
Do you think that this might be a little bit like when Aelin was kidnapped at the end of the blue book, the purple book,
Yep.
right? But she was like put in that sarcophagus or whatever, and we get little snippets here and there, but it's not really a plot line for a really long time. Do you think it's gonna be a little something like that?
Yeah. Hopefully not a full book, but I'm guessing we're gonna have a whole part without Bryce.
Okay. One thing that I think Sarah J. Maas did really well is weaving together. You brought it up earlier when we were talking about like good, neutral, and bad. With this, I think she's done that really, really well with creating a matrix of different players with different motivations and different outcomes, almost having alliances fighting within each other, right? In order to create this world of politics and rebellion and whatever. I really enjoyed reading this because it seems like the people that are loyal still hate each other and are vying for power, or are loyal but are fighting the system in some way, shape, or form. And then factions within the rebellion seem to be rebelling against the rebellion.
It's intense, the level of character detail that we get and the motivations, the relationships, the politics behind it all.
Do you think we've seen the last of Emil?
No. We spent a lot of time dwelling on this kid for nothing.
I mean, I understand from a writing perspective that you have to give characters a motivation, and then that motivation doesn't necessarily have to pay off. All the stuff that they do because of the motivation can be the payoff. But I do agree that we got a lot of this hunt for Sophie and Emil for very little purpose. And I have to ask, we were billed at the beginning of this book, literally the beginning of this book in the prologue, that Sophie had found something, the truth. She had found something so world altering that if people knew it, everything would change. And we learn it. And I got to be honest, if they tell everybody, I don't think anything would change.
Because you would have to still overhaul them. You would still have to rise up and get it to change.
or people are so indoctrinated into the system. So think about people like Mordok and Pollux. You could even think about Micah and Sandriel when they were alive. The Asteri are why they have positions of power. Would they want to change that? I think
I
it
doubt it.
is. I'll make this point and see what you think, but then we can obviously move on because I'm going to go a little out of pocket here. Uh, it's the concept. Let's talk about Christianity for a second, and I'm going to make some wild claims. I don't know if they're true. We don't need to talk about their veracity. Let's just take them at face value as devil's advocacy, trying to make a point, right? Okay. There have been some things that have been written, some movies that have been made, some academia that has been done that posit that Jesus Christ is not and was not ever actually a deity. He was a man, right, who was killed, did not rise from the dead, did not any of that kind of stuff, right? But the entire tenets of Christianity are based on the fact that he is Son of God, that he rose
Mhm.
from the dead, and that he reascended to heaven. Are the entire faith basis of the Christianity is based upon this, right?
Yes.
So the thing I'm going to say is, let's say somebody goes into the archives of Rome, as it were, like the Eternal City, and they find the truth. And the truth is that Jesus Christ is not a deity. He was just a man. And let's say somebody tries to throw that truth out into the world. My argument is that it wouldn't change anything.
No, and
People
to
will
loop this,
say, good.
well, I was just going to say, to loop it back to the Astari actually did mention that in the design of this current Pangea world, they very intentionally built a hierarchy so that the people who had more magic to give the Astari would be in power over another type of being so that they would want to stay and there would be that hierarchy there, right? And so because of that, the spot of the hierarchy they're on, they will continue to proliferate this ideology.
So I'm bringing it full circle. I'm wondering what Sophie thought she was going to do with this truth nugget and how it was actually going to be earth shattering and world changing.
Right? Because she had a lot of power, but is Thunderbird power enough to cross worlds to bring hell into fight? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a good.
That's the only reason why it makes a difference that Bryce is doing it. Are you ready to play some Would You Rathers?
Yes, yes, we should. Yes, we should. All right. You go first.
All right. Would you rather mentally link with Agent Daybright or secretly train with Cormac in teleportation?
Well, now that I know that Agent Daybright puts out on the mental bridge, I think I'm going to go ahead and mentally link with the
Understandable. I'm going to go with teleportation because that sounds widely useful.
stupid boy, the smart girl. Okay, well, speaking of the Hind, would you rather be questioned by the Hind as the Hind, not as Agent Daybright, but as the Hind? Or would you rather have dinner with Sabine?
Dinner with Sabine, wholeheartedly. I know exactly what I'm going to get. Not some type of crazy torture, just flat out crazy.
Okay. I mean, I would agree with you. I can't fix stupid or racist or bigoted or whatever, but I can stay alive, and that's a plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can at least have a drink and maybe run.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you rather live in Bryce's apartment with the constant chaos or the Ocean Queen's depth charger?
Okay, so I know that we've both talked about how awesome and plush Bryce's apartment is. Um, but it seems to me that if you are on the Ocean Queen's depth charger or any of her city ships or whatever, you like don't exist in the rest of the world. It's awesome. I'll take
And you
that.
have everything you could ever need.
Yeah. I'm game
I'm
for
in
that.
full agreement.
All right. Would you rather have Ethan as a grumpy roommate or Therion as an overly flirty roommate?
I'll take the grump. I'll take Ethan.
I don't know how to answer this one. I'm very torn because on the one hand, I think it would be cool to room with Ethan because of his sports background, and we just sit and watch sports together all the time. But like on the other hand, Therion's not going to flirt with me, so he could be like my pickup bro, my pickup
Solid,
artist, like you know.
solid wingman.
So that's the word I was looking for. Therion could be my wingman. I think I might go with Therion.
All right. Would you rather have guarding your back a shadow singer like Rune or a lightning wielder like Hunt?
I am going to completely bypass the magical portions of these two individuals, and I'm going to pick Rune because he
Okay.
seems like a better dude. Hunt bothers me from time to time. Hunt is supposed to be the Umbra Mortis. He's supposed to be like the most terrifying creature in Crescent City. We know that he's more of a teddy bear on the inside. But like, how did he get this reputation? Because inside the books of Crescent City, he doesn't ever seem like he can do anything. He always seems to be like kind of pussyfooting around, making the wrong choices.
Okay, but in the bedroom, Hunt brings some electrical nuances to relationships, whereas Rune gives privacy no matter what. So from that standpoint, I think I also am going to pick Rune.
There you go. You don't want you don't want to be zapped, as it were.
No,
No?
not
Okay.
by the most powerful lightning wielder. Nope, that sounds no.
Okay. Would you rather know all of Danica's secrets or be blissfully unaware and just trust her implicitly?
We're only on this adventure because we want to know all of Danica's secrets. So I'm going to go with I want to know all of Danica's secrets, but I'm dying for Bryce because her heart is breaking every time we learn a new one.
I want to know all of Danica's secrets as well. I agree with you. And I'm going to take it a step further. I want to know all of them now because we were talking about the hunt for Sophie and Emil being like a waste of time plotline.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, if Danica is not the most ridiculous dead motivation for an entire series of books ever. That girl did more in her 4 years of college and like 5 years out of college than any of us will do in our entire lives.
Would you rather be trapped, a trapped mystic, slowly losing your identity, or a rebel sympathizer hunted by the Asteri?
I think the functional answer, the realistic answer, is I would rather be a trapped mystic because I would be a kept being of sorts. But if I'm going to give you my idealistic, what I actually hope for myself, I'd rather be a rebel sympathizer fighting the system.
Yeah. I got questions. So, trapped mystic, talking with the devil.
I mean, seems like they go to hell, but it was Apollyon who was there, so they literally go to the planet hell, and from what we now know, hell is actually a okay place. They just don't want to be disturbed. So is that what you would want to be? Do you want to be a trapped mystic? Yeah. You know, we pay as humans, we pay for like Epsom bath therapies or whatever, where we're put into a chamber with no noise and we just float. If that's not what being a mystic is, I don't know what is. Okay. Last one. Would you rather face Mordock with no backup or Pollux with backup? And if you want to know how I came up with this question, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the books, Mordock is only ever there sniffing around. We never actually see him be violent. But Pollux, by comparison, is only ever violent, ripping people apart. He's the one that tortured Hunt, etc. So if you had backup, would you go against Pollux or would you face Mordok with no backup, given that context?
I'd still go with Mordok because I think curious what his motivations are. Because he can sniff everything out. We're pretty confident he's aligned with the Asteri. But there's something that feels a little bit off with him being a bloodhound and Danica being a bloodhound and Danica rebelling against Sabine. I wonder if Murdoch might also be a double agent.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting. I think I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. That's what I would choose as well. I don't want to be anywhere near Pollux. Okay, well, I know we've kind of touched on this a little bit already. But instead of hypothesizing what is going to happen next, now that book 2 is all tied up with a nice, neat little bow and cliffhanger, what is one thing that you are hoping to get out of book 3?
More of Hypaxia's story. I want more of her necromancy skills. And to see where Apollyon lands.
Do you think that Hypaxia will be as much of a main character now that we know who the Hind is and that she's good?
Yeah, because this book was all about Bryce's betrothal. I wonder if the next one will be on the backstage of Rune's betrothal.
Okay. That is a fair point. You're right. The love triangle, as it were, political or not, probably going to be front and center. In book 3, I am hoping for a side quest. And that side quest is Ethan overthrowing Sabine and taking control of all of the wolves in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe he doesn't take control, but like replaces Sabine. Or I want that wolf coup. That's what I want in book 3.
Yeah.
And I know we've both already touched on it.
The Mystic Alpha.
Yes, the Mystic Alpha, who is apparently like Danica's sister or something. Cousin, whatever.
Yeah.
And I know we both touched on it already. Jesiba needs to be a thing. We wanted her to be a thing in book 1. We wanted her to be a thing in book 2. She got to be a thing when the book in question is named after her allegiance. Bring it on.
That's a gift. Well, I think that's it. I think it's time to put a bookmark it. And next time, we're going to be diving into the next book, House of Flame and Shadow. Reading part 1, maybe? Question mark? We'll see how many parts are in this book.
Don't work too hard and just keep enjoying some books. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.